Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. So we'll get started here in just a moment. I just need to get things set up, and then we're all good to go. It's going to up the music a tad bit here. Make things a little bit louder. Maybe that's okay. I guess we'll see. Hopefully you guys can hear me alright, and that's good. Right, let me go ahead and bring the game up. There we are. I was getting my phone set up so I can look at the chat, I should say. I did do a little bit of extra work after the stream the other day. Not much. I just kind of wanted to get an idea for how I wanted to approach the air defense. Now, air defense is going to be really interesting for us because it's like I can't guarantee to I can't protect everything equally. And in here, what's it saying? He who defends everything defends nothing, something of that nature. So I can't just go crazy. I've got to make actual legitimate and actual real decisions about what we're doing, really. So it's going to be easier said than done. We'll get into it here in just a moment once I can actually figure out how the heck to view my own channel. Right, here we are, that's good. Alright, here we are. I'm up on it now. We're all good to go. My own channel. Whoop. Don't want to hear myself. Right, okay. We're good to go. So I'll show you guys what I've done so far. Let me just bring these up and hide them. There we are. I'm glad I figured that one out. So, I do have to have the air stacking. Now, what I've decided really... I decided to move down here in the south to begin with. But mainly what I've done is I've moved things that are likely to be targetable by NATO air power and likely not going to get the better of any engagement. These guys over here, these fighter bombs, I've decided to actually keep them shepherded together over here where the Hungarian air defenses are. The reason for that is I kind of want to have it as like, I suppose maybe like a porcupine strategy really. The areas where we do have our assets are the areas where I do want to have them defended. If I can, that would be ideal. I could even have the fighter bombs deployed out here so that they work together. So if they do come into a service group, then they have to intercept these guys. But at the end of the day, it's a difficult question, and I can't guarantee the defense of everything. Like, I'm defending the Soviet forces with the Hungarian command better than I'm defending the Czechoslovakian forces over here. As well as the Hungarians, I should say. Now, air defense is going to be really, really important. These guys at least do have some ZSUs, but it's not much. They do at least have some air defense built into the stacks, so the stacks are not terribly... They're not defenseless, but they're not terribly well protected either. This stack over here is better off because we have the SA-6 over here as well as the divisions themselves having better stats for air defense. There's also the ZSU over here too. So that stack from the beginning has better air defense. There's a consideration here to be made. I could potentially place the fighter bombers over the top of the Czechs just to make sure they have additional air cover. But these guys don't contribute all that much. This SU-17 does. And so does this one as well. But they're very weak. This one especially is very weak. They could potentially be taken out. And attrited really. Maybe what I do is have these two placed out there. Alright, okay. We'll go big or go home. I'm going to keep them together, actually, and then at least I do increase the amount of air power over the actual Czechs, because that's what we're going to need it. These helicopters, they're going to have defense from these guys over here, so at least that does help out. They do have a little bit of air defense built in, but not much. The bombers, no defense over here. At least this group. Though in fairness, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do then is take this group and have them moved either to the Carpathian military district or to... Let's see. There's no actual inbuilt air defenses here, which is a bit of a problem over here. Though I'd say that, I'd probably speak too quickly. Because we do have usually some fighters that will remain. Though I'm not seeing them right now, so perhaps the Carpathians are not the most ideal position to have these guys, so I'll bear that in mind. I do have air defense around here, but I don't have any air defense in the Carpathian military district itself. But if we take a look at Kyiv, we do have air defenses here. So 6-6, 3-3, 4-4. Moscow 2 has 6-6, 7-7, 3-3. And then we also do have the air defenses here too, the actual fighters. Like, for example, these guys, they can't leave here. But that's a hell of a lot of security there. These guys are going to make sure nothing really can get around here and likely survive. You really have to have a pretty big stack to challenge this. So that's probably why I should keep these guys in these 3 military districts. Sorry, 4 military districts, I should say. These guys also do have some defences, and there is some ground defence here too. The Baltic is a very important military district, but the problem with the Baltic is the Baltic doesn't actually really have ground defences, which is a bit of a problem. There is something over here, but not much. These guys can't really be shifted. I could shift up some additional fighters, but we do have some Polish fighters over here, which I may potentially shift. So if anything, I probably would want to go ahead and take all of this air power here and have it moved elsewhere. Probably have it moved to Belarus. We do have our naval forces over here, and to be honest, I probably do want to have them covered with air power. There is air power around here, so if things do come in here, they will be potentially intercepted, or they'll be challenged at the least. So that is something. These ships really don't have the best defense against air power, so it would be something to bear in mind there. Yeah, this guy can move a little bit. SU-15. I think what I will do then... Let's see. I could have these guys overhead, but again, it's a danger. Oh, so they can't leave the Baltic, okay. So we'll have to defend the Baltic. That's that then. They can't be moved in here, but they can at least stay here. So they can just remain here, then they should intercept if something does come nearby. Okay. And generally what I've been doing as well is, if you notice down here, we do have the helicopters that are protected. That's a very important thing. I'll shift the rest of them here. But what I'm doing is essentially assets that are somewhat vulnerable are going to be stacked where there is air power and air defenses ideally. At least I do have some defense over here then. When it comes to these guys over here, it is a bit of a problem. So I do want to defend them, but like, how do I defend them? I need to have something really strong placed over them. So what I'd likely go ahead and do then is either... And to be honest, it does come down to which path of advance I'm going to take here. So if I could turn off the supply mode for now. Let's go for that one here. Yeah. So you can see that we do have a Czech forces over here. These guys did take a bit of a beating, but they're in reasonably operational state. There are American forces over here. Due to the... It's an issue with the game at the moment, I guess. Some things obviously still being worked on. The game's still in development, so we're dealing with it as is. But there are updates. There was an update the other day, actually, but I don't know what it did. So yeah, we'll have to figure that one out. But yes, generally what I want to go ahead and do then is pick the path I'm going to advance on. These German forces over here are going to be a very much of a wild card, because I'm not entirely sure where they're going to go. They could either try to plunge deeper into... Well, they could try to counterattack, which is an interesting option. I do have Mashkovka in place over here. I mean, it's unknown how much they'll be able to figure out, but they'll see that there's not a great deal of strength here. I kind of regret having the trucks over here, in fairness, now. But yes, indeed. And there are other forces around here, so we're not particularly strong here. Where did my army go? The other army went over here. So yeah, they should have been here. They should have been pressuring their flanks, but due to the trenches over here, that didn't happen, which is a bit of a shame. But there are Soviet forces all around here. There's Soviet forces here, fake forces here, but Soviet forces here. So he could try to move in, but I'm assuming he's going to be able to figure out that it may not be super wise. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So what we're going to go ahead and do here then is we'll get our assets sorted. So we have the helicopters, which I've moved to a safer position. And I'm going to look for another safer position now, actually. The problem with the Czechs is there's not a terribly large amount of forward air defenses. I need the helicopters relatively close to the front line so I can actually protect them. Sorry, not just protect them, but actually actively use them. So bear that in mind. So I'm going to have air cover around here. We did capture this airfield here, which is pretty useful. I can't guarantee that I can even keep this airfield, so I don't really particularly want to station things here, but it is a potential option. I'd rather always station away from the front or not at bases that I can't guarantee. Like this base, they're close enough for me. So, I can fit about 20 in here. I do have these helicopters. These helicopters are great for defense. Don't get me wrong, they do help. But I don't really want to risk them because they're an air asset, they're going to be targeted by air assets. So I want to really reduce the vulnerabilities that I have and try and just build up the strengths that I have. So let's see. There's a number of ways I could go about this. I could have the Soviet forces deployed to the front line and have them basically utilized as the active deterrent. Another consideration here is using the Czech air power as like ablative armor. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to be able to protect our forces, but it does mean that the Soviet forces, so the Red Air Force isn't going to, I think the VVS, I forget exactly what it is, but it means that the Red Air Force isn't going to take as much of the damage, whereas the NATO forces are engaging with, I mean, this is it, we're essentially using the Pact forces to shield the Red Army and air power. The problem with that is they're often not as effective, but it might mean we have a little bit of longevity to the Red Air Power. Because the Red Air Power, I get, kind of how I'm thinking about this is like the Warsaw Pact, the Pact Air Power is our defensive shield, our second line offensive and our main line defensive, while the Red Air Force is essentially like our offensive air power and I need to maintain offensive capabilities. So I think I'm going to have to make decisions about like how we operate. So really, I'm going to try to cover what I can with Pact air power. Right. It's not easy though, because I can't cover everything. Okay. It does mean though, at least, the Czech bases will be covered by our own air power. Right, these are reconnaissance, okay. Have them moved into there. That should help them survive a little bit more. Yeah. That group's a little diminished. There's not a huge deal of, like, Pact air power. And that is also a thing, like, if I do have them taken out, then that is a lost unit, but it's one of those. We just kind of have to deal with it sometimes. MiG-21s ain't too bad. The main thing for me is like I need to defend the Soviets. I mean, granted I could use the Soviet air power over here, and we'll see about that. I do have the ability to move them, so at least that's something. I'm going to have the helicopters behind the jets. These guys really... that's a very powerful... Oh yes, it's an SU-25, right, okay, that makes a lot of sense, okay. Let's have these guys based out here at Prague. I do have another fighter there, at least. We do have another fighter here, and a MiG-23, so we'll have them based out here. Yeah, something like that. I don't need to defend everything, but I do need to defend what I do have. These SU-25s are very, very powerful. I am going to have them concentrated out this way. They do have the range to make it to the front, so that's good. But it's like, for example, assets like this. But I do have all these. Oh, like, at least I do have fighter defense here, so that's good. Okay. SG-17. Right, okay. So this one's about 8 stacking. Should be about 9. 23 is really enough, in my opinion. What I'm going to go ahead and do then is take these bombers. they can be moved up over there to Prague. But the bombers are going to be moved from the Carpathians, and they're going to be moved up to the Kiev military district. The reason for that is I want to have my air power. Like, my bombers really... They're not the be-all, end-all. They're not going to do huge amounts of damage, but they're going to do, like, persistent damage. And I need to have them. Because the bombers are there to bring about that just somewhat reliable ground attack. And I'm going to need that. I can't, and I do not have enough multi-role fighters or things of that nature, fighter bombers, to cover everything. So yeah, the bombers are very important for that task. Helicopters can be moved up here. Really, I should have more fighters over here then. Prague does at least have some decent air defense, but not a huge amount of it. So I'll take these guys. I can't get everybody in there, but I mean, we do have some air defense here, but yeah. Move it up over there then, make sure we just have enough to cover. They can go in there. And I do have these guys, which I'm going to use somewhat aggressively, offensively even. And I could have had them placed over here in Hungary. The thing is, the Hungarian air defenses are good, but they're not as strong. Like, that's like a total of 9 air defense. Over here we have, yeah, I mean, that's 9 right there, plus the 10. And then we also do have the other fighters there, so it's worth keeping them around, basically. So we do have these other fighters here, like we have the SU-27s. These guys are awesome. Now the consideration does come down to like how I use these guys, because do I really want to have them based out here at Kiev? That's a big question. And that's 12 there. It really depends on how I want to cover things, and this is one of the reasons why this is going to take probably a little bit of time. It's arguably not going to take that much time. I've done a bit of work already here. Like, for example, these helicopters I'm keeping on the front lines over the force here. These are the battalions of attack helicopters that are escorted by squadrons of fighters. So they do have built-in air defense. They're not super strong, but at least they have some. So it does help out there. How you doing there, SDE? Good to have you, my man. How you been doing today? Yeah, so I will have the fighters placed over them. I do have a larger fighter groups over here, for example. So I do have a Czech units over here. What I'm going to go ahead and do, because I don't have them in enough numbers, and I only have a single air defense over here, which is the same as... Well, actually, this is a superior one. But there is such a thing as safety in numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and move them up over there. The helicopters can be moved over here, but they're likely going to be only able to... Yeah, they can make it here, though. Not enough room over here. But in which case, I probably want to have them moved up to this airfield anyhow, so they can be utilised next turn. There we are. Right. Now, I do have this group. This is a very strong group. So we have this collection of fighter bombers. They do take up quite a lot of actual stacking too, so that's something to bear in mind. What am I looking at over here then? Apparently... Oh, because they're at the airfield. See, because they're at the airfield, I don't think I can guarantee them actually fighting. So what I might go ahead and actually do then is, let's say, take this large group over here and have them placed over there, top of Prague. Yeah. And the advanced rule says it's not too bad, really. Granted, you do have more units, but I don't know. I just got used to playing the advanced, so I don't really notice any difference, because I've not played any different, in fairness. Let's make sure that they're based out here, man. Right, so they can be based over here, then. So we do have that strong group. I mean, the fighter bomb is not particularly strong, but the actual groupings of fighters here are very... they're okay. That's a 5-4, so 4 defense, and that's 4 vol. So that gives us a little bit of weight there to play with. I could bring out some additional fighters from here, like the fighter bombers, for example, which I think I may do. If they have... there's only those ones, really. I'll bring out these guys and just add them in there. They don't add a lot, but they add another 2, so at least that's something. But yeah, so we're going to move the vulnerable assets away from the military districts. So, for example, Kyiv military district is going to be pretty heavily utilized. Arguably, I could have them based in Moscow, and Moscow does have the heaviest air defenses. Like, you do have all of these over here, which are very nice. But it doesn't hurt to also have them spread out a little bit, because I can't reach everywhere from Moscow easily. So having them spread out somewhat does help. But let's see. So I could even base these guys up over here in Prague if I wanted to. But we'll see. I do have these reconnaissance units over here. These guys are very good with anti-radiation. I didn't use them properly last time. Yeah, I went for full modernization of the Soviets and full modernization of Pact. And so did my opponent Alex with Nato. So we're kind of playing this really interesting game of if everybody's modernized, is anybody modernized? Yes, that's the question. Right, okay. These guys are very valuable to me. Like, they have very particular purposes. So they can go ahead and be based over here at Prague. These guys can be utilized as well. That reconnaissance. These guys too. These yaks. They just essentially, I believe they cancel out hits, which is useful. Yeah, so it is basically 1989. Yeah, that is essentially everybody's completed their modernization in advance, pretty much. Okay. And these guys are going to have deployed forward to a degree, but again, it's nice to have that ambiguity of where they're going to come from. And if he does want to strike at them, he's going to have to come. But again, this is it. So I could go for like air defense and have them actively utilized against him, but we'll see here. I do have my checks over here. I suppose you could call this a system of checks and balances. Something like that. Oh my. Okay, these bombers need to go over here to the north. And then to Kyiv. Oh yeah, human wave. Okay. Ah, yeah. It does depend, really. I mean, like, I'd have really preferred to use, like, chemical and nuclear weaponry, but barred from that. So it does change how you have to play. Right. These checks are rather interesting that they are here. I don't know if it's a bug or not, but they're here anyway. It does at least give me another unit to play with. I got a strong group over here. Yeah, so all the helicopters can just go into the airfield here. There's also this group over here as well. MiG-21s. MiG-21, MiG-21, okay. Not particularly powerful, though this one here is reconnaissance, okay. Yeah, no, it is a bit of a shame regarding the breakthroughs, but again, we'll just have to see how it goes, really. I spoke with him, not like over comms or anything, over chat. He's a nice guy. And it has been a bigger success than he had anticipated. It's also, I believe, his first title. So, a lot of pressure on him right now. He'll get it. Okay. I mean, arguably, I could defend, and I should defend all of my forge units. It's another question of really, if I defend the forge units, am I leaving myself vulnerable behind? But if I leave myself strengthened in the rear, it's an interesting one, really. Oh, that's pretty cool there, SD. I'll have to join your Discord or vice versa or something like that, but we could set up some games. That'd be pretty interesting, actually. With quite a few people, that could be intriguing to have like a sort of like system for that. a league system, if you will. So let's see. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm just thinking here, how do we go about this? It could be an interesting system to try and actively engage NATO air power. The thing is, like, NATO air power is pretty dispersed right now. Oh, yeah, Proto. Good to have you, man. Yeah. I need to get more people to join that group, actually. The Warsaw Pact Command group and the NATO one. That'd be pretty cool. Right. So in terms of, like, what we have air power-wise, we did manage to deal some nice hits to NATO air power early. But it hasn't been totally and utterly overwhelming. So Luftwaffe, 39 units. French Air Force obviously not been touched. The US Air Force has obviously been touched to a degree, Royal Air Force. So mainly going up against the US Air Force, Royal Air Force, and the West German Air Force. There are, of course, other nations as well. There's going to be like the Austria. If the Austrians have an Air Force too, the Italian Air Force is going to be coming too. So there's a lot of things we have to really deal with there. But I think what we'll go ahead and do then is, let's see. I don't know if I can... I think certain areas we can... Right, let me go ahead and take this then. Let's take these fighters. Move them in there. Take that stack and this one. These guys can go over here then. Alright. Have some air cover over here then. I do need to have air cover here as well, which is a bit of a problem. So, I guess I'm going to have to take a bit of a risk here. I could potentially take the helicopters and have them moved, but not a huge amount of viability there. I do have at least air defense here. There's also the units here as well. The ZSUs are here. And we also do have the SA-6. So this spot actually does have some decent air power. I decided it's actually probably worthwhile trying to cover my assets, so we'll go for that. I think the difficulty here is going to be deciding how we share out the air power. I have to concentrate it, really. As far as it goes over here, like, I did want to have a breakthrough. Well, I did want to actually win this province, so it's a shame that we haven't had that. As I wanted to then go into Würzburg and hit the forces there, but unfortunately that didn't work out. It would have left the German forces over here in a pretty dark predicament, but that didn't happen. So we have to deal with it. Frankly, probably would have gone in here and flanked me or done something of that nature, but it would have been nice to have had the option to have engaged. But for now, things are as they are. Right. So these forces did take a bit of a pacing. So they're not particularly strong right now, which is a bit of a problem there. So if engaged, I will have them retreat. If I can, that is. I think what we're going to have to do then is just